listening to the Author Inside You podcast, a weekly podcast designed to motivate you to finish writing a book, choose a publisher, and have your work build an audience. Keep listening if you're looking to get propelled into the next chapter of your life. And now, it's the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.
Hello, and welcome to the Author Inside You podcast. I'm Matt Rafferty.
And I'm Leah Rafferty.
Joining us today is Kaylee Shadows, author of Thrifty Traveler Goes Solo, Budget-Friendly Tips for Traveling Alone, Volume 1. Kaylee is a relationship specialist, a love coach, and she's married to the man of her dreams. And together, they have 7 boys. Welcome, Kaylee. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Kaylee, you have to be really busy. With 7 boys, how do you find time to write?
I really make sure that I organize my time really well and that I, use my calendar and that I make sure that I basically crunch all my time together. So I'm very specific on each time that I use from, if I'm going to write from noon to 3, then I make sure that I do that. And during summer hours, I definitely have to make sure that I'm a little bit more organized with all of these boys running around.
Yeah.
I bet. You have a specific time that you set aside for writing?
I do. During the school year is a lot easier for me because the boys are all in school. And so I get a good 7 to 8 hours time where I can really just dedicate myself to my business. And that's basically what I do is I just kind of, take myself in my little office and sit down and just get everything done that I need to.
Excellent. So the book's about being a thrifty traveler. How did you research that, or how did you come up with that?
That actually is kind of funny. I started that because just years ago, it's probably been about 15 years ago, I started traveling and doing some things. And I was kind of honestly learning as I went because I was, taking these trips and spending way too much money and not quite figuring out how to even budget to take a trip. And it just got really frustrating. And so I just kind of started just basically learning from each vacation that I took, just different tips, and kind of just would use them on the next vacation. And then my best friend was kind of like, you should write a book about this. She's like, because you have this all down of all these little things you do. And I kind of laughed at the time and thought, oh, that's funny. And then a couple years ago, my husband said the same thing to me. He was like, you could really help other people with this exact topic. As he was watching me organize everything for this trip that I had planned for us to do. And I was like, you're the second person to say that, so maybe I should actually do it.
Yeah, that's wonderful, because everyone likes the tips, on how to save money.
Right.
And it's nice to get encouragement from your friends and family. Yeah.
So then, so now you have this, your tips, then how do you go about to get it published?
So I kind of went a few different ways with the idea of publishing because, I was new at this and wasn't sure what to do. And luckily, I have a really good friend who is also an author, and she really kind of just helped me along the way of really kind of getting going with first starting. And I think I probably asked her for advice like crazy. And then, now she probably is like, I don't even want your messages anymore, but she's fun. But she was super great. And she actually told me, she was like, I do self-publishing. She's like, I don't actually have a publicist. And I was like, that's an option. And so then I really started looking into it, and I found the Self-Publishing School and kind of signed up with them for a little bit and just really just did a lot of research and a lot of that stuff, then kind of was like, I think that self-publishing is going to be the best way for me to go. And that's kind of what I did.
And did you have luck with the Self-Publishing School?
Yeah, I did a lot. It's been really helpful because as one of the things that, I've kind of learned along the way of my business is that there's all these people out there who will, constantly tell you, oh, I can help you, or, oh, sign up for my thing and you'll get all of this stuff. And, and it's really hard because it all seems so appealing, but it's really having to narrow it down and go, this is what's going to be the best for me. And, when I finally found the self-publishing school, that really was just like, yeah, this is what I've been looking for because this is what I need. This is the field I'm in, and it helped so much.
And what was the name? What was the name of the company that you went with?
It's actually called the Self-Publishing School. It's done by Chandler Bolt.
Oh, great.
Okay. We'll put a link to that in our show notes. So that's great.
Yeah.
So what was it that you liked about the publishing school?
I think the first thing that kind of I think attracted me to it was actually Chandler himself. He's very like upbeat and he talks really fast, and that really fits me because I'm that same kind of personality. And so I really liked his energy, and he was just kind of that guy who, like, his biggest thing is he'll tell you is, oh, I dropped out of college and I was like a C student, and and he's like, and I managed to publish books and do this and basically become this person, and that was just really inspiring to be able to see that, and so that was really what drew me there, and then it just kind of all fell together after that.
Yeah, well, that's good because a lot of times our society, you have to be the A+ in everything or else things aren't going to work for you, right? And so
right,
that's
exactly.
good. So he's encouraging, and it's true. We all have these gifts. We all can do all these things, and let's, share them. Don't get hung up. And if anyone who has kids in school, that sometimes can be hard, right?
Right, exactly.
It's not just the best that succeed, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Was it easy to work with self-publishing?
It was easy to work with it. He's really good. Like, it's not just him. He's got, now he's got this whole, business and company. And so there's a ton of different people that work with him and are really helpful too. And he's very good really about being like, take these steps when you're doing things. And that was, I think, really helpful for me because like I said, I'm very organized. And so if I can kind of have like, here's a list of 10 things I need to do right now, that really helps me. And it was kind of that way. It was kind of like, just from, he's just like same thing from starting like here's scratch where you're starting where you have a blank piece of paper to now your book is published.
Okay.
And
so it's guided.
That made things really, really easy for me to be able to, and I mean, I had already basically wrote the book by the time I found the self-publishing school. So I was kind of ahead of it there, but it was still nice to kind of go back and see like, should I have done something different and all that stuff.
And then what have you been doing to promote the book once you got it finished?
And this is actually something I did learn from the self-publishing school, what is to do a launch team for my books. And that has actually helped a lot. And basically it's just the idea of just finding a bunch of people who kind of want to join my launch team. And when I say launch team, what I mean is basically is I have these people who, like I create like a private Facebook group and they kind of sit in there and they kind of help me throughout the book. Like if I've got like, a question or something like, how would you guys think this sounds? Does this title sound better than this title? Or does this cover look better than this cover? And so I kind of get that outside perspective as I'm working on the book. And that has actually helped tremendously because then I'm getting that opinion of people who are like, I like this cover and catches my eye or whatever. And then, I do that. And then at the end of it, basically what happens is once the book is published, so they go on and they will like leave a review for me on Amazon and stuff and basically share the book on their own social medias and everything and kind of just help me get the word out.
So how did you get the launch team?
It was pretty simple. I just, I posted for it. I've been looking at a couple different ways because I've read that some people will actually kind of just put it on their website like, oh, here's my launch team application and stuff. But I'm a little more like kind of a little bit more one-on-one contact. And so what I did is I posted the same thing just on my social media thing being like, launch team request being like, I'm looking for people who want to do this. And, I let them know like with this, you get a free digital copy of the book and you get to, be a part of the process throughout it and everything. And and then even sometimes I'll even actually go to people like specifically and be like, hey, would you be interested in being a part of this? And then they'll let me know like, yeah, that'd be great or whatever. And then that's just kind of it. I just kind of have the people come that way. And then with this last one, I actually it helped a lot because I did that, and then it was just surprising to see how many people were like, especially with the traveling and the saving money, people were like, I can't wait to read this book. I want to be a part of that launch team.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, great, and that was really kind of surprising actually. And then they would actually send other people, like they'd be like, can my friend join too? And I'm like, yes, they can.
Great. Now, when you're talking about joining, are you emailing each other? Or are you doing Skype, or how are you communicating?
Mostly it's just in like the Facebook group. I have like the private Facebook group, and of course I get everybody's email. So I'll email them to like as the process is going on, just because sometimes some people aren't as active in social media.
Okay.
And so if I don't want them to ever feel like, oh, I missed a whole week of stuff you've been doing or whatever. So then, I'll just kind of send an email out about once a week. I'm very much like, not in your face type of an author, because I'm like, people have lives, and, they're, not going to just sit around 24 hours a day dedicated to my book,
Right.
So
Right.
I like to be able to, just kind of, just a couple, messages throughout the week, and just, kind of talk to people and get their opinion on things, and yeah, just do it that way.
Right. Don't overdo it.
Yeah.
So how long was the process from the time you decided to write the book, the travel book, until the time you were finished with it?
I think the travel book, I want to say, took me about 6 months from like start to publish.
Okay, that's good.
That sounds fast. That's great. I mean, I'm sure there was some research to go into it. And
oh yeah, definitely. I've done a lot of research on, traveling, like personal stuff, but then also just other things, reading what other people have done and things. And, it does take time after a while.
Yeah. Now, what about your kids? Aren't they excited when they see the book?
My kids, they kind of crack me up there. Like, the book came, and I'm all, of course, excited and stuff.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I'm like, look, it's my book. And I don't think they quite realized at first when I meant, like, mine, like, I wrote it. Because they were like, oh, yeah, Mom, your book, And I was like, okay. And then I put it down, and on the back of the cover, my picture's on it. And one of my twins was just hilarious. He saw it, and he goes, Mommy, that's you.
Aww.
I was like, thank you. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so then I explained it a little bit more, and then that was really exciting for them to be like, hey, look at that. And so I was like, that's me.
Yeah, that's fun. Now, what about how are you getting the book out there? How are you marketing it?
I mostly, like I said, it's been in the launch team, just kind of having a lot of other people share it and stuff. I've got it obviously on Amazon.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a big thing, just kind of sharing the link and stuff. And with it being there, I've, picked up just a few little tips from, just other authors and stuff of making sure, I can get into like a few extra categories and things like that on Amazon. So that way I'm really hitting like the people who are actually looking for this kind of a specific audience.
Oh, so there are categories on Amazon that you can...
Yeah, and so it basically was really simple. I just had to actually ask Amazon and be like, I think my book would be really good in these, categories. And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll stick it there.
Great. So
like,
that was
great.
good to know that they were accessible and easy to work with.
Exactly. And so, I've done that. And then, like a couple, like when I first started, I did like a free promo, like right away to just kind of get like a bunch of copies out there, kind of get some reviews, which, kind of helped the book get up there. And just kind of doing that stuff.
Are you going to plan on doing maybe going to a bookstore or a local bookstore or anything?
I've kind of been like toying with the idea of it. I hadn't really thought much of it because I'd kind of just been kind of content doing what I was.
Oh, okay.
But then I had another lady that I was talking to who was talking about doing like kind of like a book conference and stuff. And I was like, I'm like, that sounds actually kind of interested in doing that, And so I think that I've been would like to do that.
And maybe AAA could use it in their stores. Wouldn't that be nice to have it in AAA?
Right, or any travel agent.
Yeah.
I mean, there still are some travel agents out there that actually have, brick and mortar stores.
That's true, yeah.
It would be an interesting place to put a book because people probably aren't thinking about buying a book so much when they go into a travel agency, and they might say, hey, look at this.
Yeah, but I think AAA,
it's a really good idea.
People who go to AAA are usually looking to save some money.
Right.
So,
So Kaylee, do you have any advice for authors, somebody who's out there writing their book now and maybe stuck or thinking about getting started with a book?
Yeah, I think that the best advice I have is to kind of get out of your own way and just start writing. I know for me that was kind of the biggest thing is I had like a million ideas and a bunch of different notes in my planner and everything, that I've had for years where it's been like, write a book on this, write a book on that. And, and obviously I haven't done all of them yet, and I know the first one was really just the hardest for me because it was just everything from that self-doubt to, oh, people are going to hate it, or what if they think this sucks, or what if I can't actually do this, and just lots of little things like that. And I think a lot of people go through that when they're going to start something of this kind of thing. And so that's really just kind of is my advice. Just get out of your own way, just don't even think about it, and just start writing. And after that, it really becomes the thing. And I know for me, like with this one, as I was writing, basically, because I didn't really do chapters, I did more like sections. When I was done with the section, I would like send it to my editor because I was like, let's make this easier on her. And to have her like come back and be like, I love this. This is really neat. And you can really hear yourself in it and stuff was like just so much more encouraging to keep going, and
Right.
so yeah, it's just basically that's my advice is just start writing.
Well, that's an interesting idea of sending each chapter to your editor instead of, I think of it as like, here I am, I'm finally finished. Here's all, 200 pages of my book. Now tell me what you
Right.
think. But that's a neat idea to send it as you're going along, and then she can kind of guide you, point you in the right direction. How did you find your editor?
She's actually a close friend of mine. She's done a lot of just different editing and like just all sorts of custom work for just other companies and other people, and I've known that about her, but I never really thought of actually using her. And then when I started writing, she was like, if you want, I can look at it. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be great, and she just said it just kind of just turned into that. And so now I'm just like, so you're my editor now. It's like
Great.
sounds great,
Yeah.
and so
And I would
and
think,
so it works out really good.
I would think that would also be a motivator if you're having her look at it as you write it, because when you get the positive feedback, you're like oh, I can keep doing this. This is really working out well. So yeah, I like that also that you said that about sending it off in chapters.
Well, and I do it for her just mostly because, like I said, we're friends, and also I know, she's got her own life and she's
Right.
busy, so I figure it gives her a little bit of time, so she's not sitting down with one huge thing and, having to try to break it up, and so I kind of am helping her do that. And because she's, like my friend and everything, she's probably a little bit more honest with me than she is probably most of the people she works with, so
But
I know
good.
because I'll get that message where she'll be like, so explain to me what this means. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should reword that. And she'll go, yes, you should. And I'm like, all right, thanks.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And so then so she's she's very encouraging, but she's also very honest with me, and that helps a lot because then I can be like, okay, I'll fix that.
Right, that's wonderful.
And are there photos or illustrations in your book?
When I first thought about the photo thing, I was like, oh, that's dumb, and then I was like, you know what? I was like, I actually like the idea of adding just like little photos in there. I read a book about 2 months ago written by Lauren Graham. She's an actress, and I love her. And in her book, it was the same thing. Like partway through, she just had like little photos of like her starting out and all these things, and I would just really enjoyed that. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I think I want to do that also. Just kind of have something. So in this book specifically, I added like photos where it would just like at the end of each section where it was like, here, one would be like, this is a really good friend of mine, out traveling. This book specifically is like, about traveling solo. So it was like, I have a good friend who he likes to do traveling and backpacking and things like that. So I've got a great picture of him backpacking, and, so he's in there. And then just, pictures of like, here's my husband on his vacation or whatever and stuff, and
good.
so just, little things like that.
That's nice. So more personal photos than photos that you paid someone to take or bought on a service or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then did your publishing company help you with the layout of the photos?
No, I did it all myself.
Oh, great. So it sounds like with this book, you've had a pretty easy going working on this book through all the processes. Is that correct?
Yeah, this book has been like it was pretty simple, and I think mostly I really use like map designing when I'm writing, and that helps a lot because then I can have it and be like, I've got these sections and these are what the topics I want to go into this section, and so I really break everything down, and so I do all of that before I even start writing. And so that way, once I do start, I can kind of just flow.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're mapping it out, are you doing it on the computer or are you doing it on a piece of paper?
On a piece of paper, I still, completely stick it all out just by hand.
Okay, yeah, that would be me. Matt would be the computer, and I would be the piece of paper.
And then
I like the paper.
Me too.
And then Leah would lose the piece of paper.
Yeah, sometimes, not all the time.
I'm just kidding. So, Kaylee, how's a good way for our listeners to get in touch with you if they have a question or something?
My email is the best. It's just really simple because it's kayleeshadows@gmail.com. So it's really straightforward, and that's usually the best way. I'm on like all social medias. It's pretty easy to find me, but to actually be like, I have a question or want to talk to me, email is the best way to go.
So, Kaylee, I see you're very active on social media. Which social media outlet works the best for you?
Facebook really has been the best for me. It seems to be I think where I'm getting like the most views and the most people coming to me and actually, being active with what I'm doing. So I'd say Facebook.
Great.
Well, Kaylee, thanks for joining us today. We had a great time talking to you and hearing your story. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to speak to us.
When you get a chance, follow us on Facebook. Just search for The Author Inside You. Thanks for listening, and until next time,
Right on.
Thank you for listening to the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.